You left a voicemail message earlier today.
Yes, yes, thank you. I've been on your website, jw.org, quite a lot since the lockdown. I've been looking at the book Enjoy Life Forever. I was wondering if it's possible to help.
Sure.
I'm very puzzled about lesson 24. What is the truth about angels?
24.
Yes, lesson 24 on page 99.
What in particular?
Well, it's paragraph 3 that puzzles me. If it's possible to help. Shall I read it, or do you want to read it?
You read it.
Yeah, sure. Satan and the demons mislead many people through demonism, or spiritism, which is the bad practice of trying to communicate with spirits. For example, some people consult astrologers, fortune tellers, and psychics, and witch doctors. Others seek forms of medical treatment that involve spiritism. People are also tricked into believing that they can speak to the dead. But Jehovah warns us, do not turn to spirit mediums and do not consult fortune tellers. He gives us this warning to protect us from Satan and the demons. They are God's enemies and they want to harm us.
Yes.
There's a couple of things that bother me about this, if it's possible to help. One is that Pastor Russell, it was claimed, as a spirit, was guiding the society from beyond the grave after his death. That's on page 144 of the Finnish Mystery, also called Studies of the Scripture, Volume 7. I've never been a Jehovah's Witness, but I've been looking at your literature. So you taught Spiritism, that Pastor Russell, after his death as a spirit, was guiding the Watchtower Society from, it says beyond the veil, but that's Old English for after his death.
I'm not familiar with that passage. I'll have to look at the context of it. But certainly we would hold to what you've just read in the Enjoy Life Forever book, that communicating with spirits, or ghosts, as people would say, is not possible. When a person dies, I think you left a message saying, when you die, is it true that you no longer exist? And that's what the Bible is telling us. There's no knowledge or devising or understanding for those that are dead.
So the dead cease to exist?
That's correct.
What about the anointed? You believe there are 144,000 anointed. Do they cease to exist after their death?
Well,
If an anointed person died today, after it's 111 years after 1914, would they cease to exist, or would they continue to live, but as a non-human spirit creature?
Well, Jehovah has the ability to resurrect people. So, yes, a person will no longer exist once they die, but Jehovah can resurrect them, just as he resurrected Jesus Christ, his son, and he has said that he will resurrect the anointed as well.
He will resurrect the anointed. Did that happen in 1914, or is that still future?
The resurrection of the anointed started, we believe, in 1914.
Right.
So you seem to have a fair knowledge of our past history.
Yes,
here.
yes. I've been at this for quite some time. Yes.
How is I can help you?
Well, another thing. So, just to clarify what you're saying that the anointed people, the 144,000 anointed, they were resurrected as non-human spirit creatures in 1914. Have I got that right?
The resurrection of the first fruits, as the Revelation says, we believe took place or started to take place in 1914. So those who were or have been anointed since the time of Jesus would have lain dead, non-existent as it were, until 1914, and then they were resurrected. And those who have been anointed since 1914 and have died since 1914 would have been resurrected as well to join that group of 144,000 in heaven.
Yes, there's some clicking in the background. I don't know if you're if anything's banging against the phone or something. There was some clicking. It was a bit hard to follow you. Thank you. Is there some literature you could point me to on the website jw.org that will clarify that the anointed people ceased to exist on their death until 1914, when they were resurrected as non-human spirit creatures? Is there some article you could please point me to?
I have to do a bit of research. I'm sure there is, but I have to do it. I don't have it at the top of my... Yeah, sure. That's absolutely fine. You've got my number. My name is Robert. You can get back to me on that. But that would be wonderful. Thank you. If you could just post me the link. I am very familiar with your website, so I'm sure I'd be able to find it if you give me the link. But I found it a little bit confusing looking at this. It's a very deep topic, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I ask, whereabouts do you live? Are you local to Mansfield?
No, I'm quite some way to the south.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So how is it you picked this telephone number? Because this is a local Mansfield congregation number.
Well, I went to jw.org, find a meeting. I couldn't get through to anyone where I live.
Okay, fair enough. There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
While I'm on, can I just mention...
Yes.
Probably that once a year Jehovah's Witnesses celebrate the memorial of Christ's death. This year that meeting is going to take place on Saturday the 12th of April, so it's next Saturday. If you look up your local meeting place, it'll tell you what time it starts. It might be an opportunity for you to meet some of Jehovah's Witnesses locally face to face and continue the discussion that way.
I don't go to any religious meetings. I gave up years ago.
Okay. Any particular reason for that?
Pardon?
Any particular reason for that, for not going to religious meetings?
Why should I? They don't believe what they teach. Why should I commit myself to something that they don't even believe and practice themselves? Well, nothing to do with it. I walked away. I certainly do believe in God, but unfortunately when people come together, I think there's a lot of manipulation that goes on, and the problem is you can't hold people to account. You see, that's the big problem with organised religion. I'm quite happy to talk about these things, but when something is done that is wrong, you can rarely hold religious people to account. That's the big problem. Another thing that puzzles me is, have you heard of the Kingdom Interlinear Translation?
Yes, I have.
Now, I managed to get a copy of that, the Blue Kingdom Interlinear Translation. That's the 1985 edition, the second edition. Appendix 2A, on page 1139, mentions the Monotesauron by John S. Thompson. It quotes it with reference to John 1:1, and they point out that the Monotesauron says that the word was a god. Monotesauron was published about 200 years ago, at the beginning of the 1800s.
Okay, I'm still with you, yep.
Yeah. John S. Thompson was a spiritist. He contacted spirits in seances, and what the spirits told him went into his religious books and his religious beliefs. He was an occultist, he was a spiritist. And yet, your book here, Enjoy Life Forever, says we should have nothing to do with those who communicate with spirits. Well, John S. Thompson was a spiritist, and why is he quoted in a current Jehovah's Witness New Testament?
Again, I don't know the context of that, so I'd have to get back to you on it.
Yes. And another spiritist, 100 years later in the 1930s, was Johannes Grieber. He was a Catholic priest, and he was defrocked, and he married this woman who was a spiritist, and they produced the world's only Bible produced by Ouija board. So they contacted the spirits to begin with in seances. In his book Communication with the Spirit World of God, Grieber talks about how they put a young boy under a trance, and they put a pen in his hand, and he wrote by automatic writing. But eventually they settled on using the Ouija board, and it's the only Bible, the only New Testament, I should say, that's been translated through the Ouija board. Now, the Watchtower quoted Grieber for 20 years, approvingly, because Grieber's spirits, the same spirits that spoke to John S. Thompson, told him that John 1:1 was a mistranslation. It should read, and the word was a God. Grieber's quoted in the Aid book, page 1184 and page 1669. The first reference to Grieber I found is on your website, 15th of February 1956 Watchtower, page 111. And Grieber's quoted approvingly for 20 years in the Watchtower, from the mid-50s to the mid-70s. Another one is the word who is he according to John, page 5. And that again quotes Grieber approvingly, saying that, John 1:1 should be translated, and the word was a God. Well, this guy's a spiritist. He used the Ouija board to translate the spirits through the Ouija board to do his Bible translation for him. I mean, why on earth should I have anything to do with this? This is spiritism.
That's a fair comment.
Yeah. Is there any scholarship behind the New World Translations? Do you have any scholars who worked on your, say, the 1950 Greek scriptures or the 1960 whole Bible? Were any of those 5 translators scholars?
I'm assuming they were.
Can you give me proof of their scholarship?
No. Why do you want the proof?
Well, why should I trust them? If somebody knocks on your door, "Hello, sir, I'm from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints," do you just believe everything they tell you about Joseph Smith and the golden plates that disappeared, and the angel Moroni, who was really Nephi, but they edited Nephi out and they put Moroni in later, and Joseph Smith had 20 or 40 wives, I forget how many. He even married a mother and a daughter of 14. Why should you have anything to do with Joseph Smith? If someone knocks on your door, "Excuse me, sir, I'm from Jesus Christ, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints," it's up to them to prove their beliefs. You don't have to go away and do any research and study to prove the Mormon faith. It's up to them to prove their belief. And, if you publish this book, Enjoy Life Forever, and you publish the New World Translation, I have a perfect right to say, give me evidence that there is scholarship behind your translation.
Absolutely. I'll have to get back to you.
Yes, sure. Just one final thing. The 1973 yearbook, which is on the website, page 133 to 135, mentions a trial that happened in Scotland in 1954 called the Douglas Walsh trial. Douglas Walsh was a Jehovah's Witness who went on trial because he refused to be inducted into the British Army and do his military conscription. He said he was a minister and he should be exempted. Fred Franz, who I'm sure you've heard of, he became president in 1977. Fred Franz flew over to Scotland as a defence witness. Now, what's interesting is that Fred Franz was under cross-examination for quite some time. He identified himself as a scholar who worked on the New World Translation. And on page 7, the prosecution barrister asked Mr. Franz if he spoke a number of European languages, which Franz did. He was an intelligent, self-educated man. He spoke them with a very thick Brooklyn accent, but he knew more European languages than I knew. So he was a smart. I grant you, Fred Franz was a smart man. But the prosecution barrister also asked him, "Do you speak Hebrew, Greek, and Latin?" And Franz said yes. Now later, under cross-examination, on page 102 of the court transcript, which I've got a copy of, the prosecution barrister handed Mr. Franz a Bible. Probably it would be a King James Bible, because that's the Bible that's used in British, Scottish and English courts. And he asked Mr. France to translate aloud for the court from English back into Hebrew, Genesis chapter 2 verse 4, which, as you'll know, is the first verse in the Bible that uses the word Jehovah. And they go back and forward in the court transcript, but Franz eventually says, I don't speak Hebrew, and I couldn't possibly do that. Now, he's the head translator of the New World Translation, the 1960 whole Bible, and he admitted under oath in court he didn't speak Hebrew. That's on page 102 to 103 of the court transcript. He admits under oath he doesn't speak Hebrew. Surely this is a translation with no scholarship behind it.
I couldn't comment. I don't know the context of the quotations you've just given. Okay.
Well, look, thank you very much indeed for your time. Get back to me. Yeah.
Yes, if I find relevant information, I'll get back to you. So it's Robert, your name?
Yes, Robert. All I would ask is just send me a text the day before, letting me know when you're going to call, the exact time, because I'm kind of busy here, there, and everywhere. And if I know the time, I can make sure that I'm by the phone. But I do need a kind of a day's notice because I'm kind of busy and I don't always check my messages.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your call.
Lovely. Thank you very much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's Mansfield Congregation.